The battlefield at Sekigahara was cloaked in fog. Samurai banners whipped in the autumn wind, their colors slashing against the grey sky. Tens of thousands of warriors stood poised, blades unsheathed, arrows drawn, waiting for the signal that would decide the fate of an entire nation. In that moment of silence, a single man sat calmly, his eyes fixed not just on the battlefield, but on the centuries that would follow. His name was Tokugawa Ieyasu, and with his victory that day, he would end centuries of chaos and usher in an era of peace that lasted over 250 years. Ieyasu's life was no simple rise to power. He was born into a world torn apart by war, where loyalty shifted like sand, and betrayal was a currency. He spent his childhood as a hostage, his youth as a survivor, and his adulthood as a cunning strategist who outlived his enemies. His story is not just that of a warlord, but of a man who turned patience into a weapon sharper than any sword, who waited for the perfect moment to strike, and when he did, he reshaped Japan forever. Tokugawa Ieyasu was born in 1543 in Mikawa province, into the Matsudaira clan, a family of minor daimyo caught in the violent struggles of the Sengoku period. His childhood name was Matsudaira Takechiyo, and though his lineage gave him noble blood, his early years were marked not by privilege but by captivity. When he was just 6 years old, his father pledged him as a hostage to the powerful Imagawa clan, an act meant to secure fragile alliances. But before young Takechiyo could reach his new captors, he was seized by the rival Oda clan. For a time, he was a pawn in their political games, a child torn between powers far greater than himself. Eventually, he was handed over to the Imagawa, where he remained for most of his youth. This early life in confinement hardened him. Surrounded by enemies, never certain of his future, he learned the art of waiting, of hiding his strength, of surviving when others might break. These lessons would become the foundation of his rise. As a hostage under the Imagawa, Takechiyo grew into manhood under the shadow of Imagawa Yoshimoto, a formidable warlord. He learned the ways of court etiquette, military strategy, and politics, all while biding his time. Despite his status, he trained in martial arts, studied Chinese classics, and absorbed the subtleties of governance. When he reached adulthood, he was allowed to marry within the Imagawa circle, cementing ties to the clan. Yet his loyalty was never absolute. Deep within, he nurtured the desire to restore his family's independence and carve his own path. His chance came in 1560, when Imagawa Yoshimoto launched an ambitious campaign to march on Kyoto, aiming to become shogun. Takechiyo, now known as Matsudaira Motoyasu, led troops in this campaign. But at the Battle of Okehazama, Yoshimoto was slain in a daring ambush by Oda Nobunaga, a moment that shattered the Imagawa's power and opened the door to Motoyasu's destiny. With Yoshimoto dead, the Imagawa clan collapsed into disarray. Motoyasu seized the opportunity to break free. Returning to his ancestral lands in Mikawa, he asserted independence, consolidating his power base and reclaiming his family's honor. But in the volatile Sengoku world, survival required allies. Motoyasu made a bold decision. Instead of clinging to the crumbling Imagawa, he aligned himself with their former enemy, Oda Nobunaga. This alliance would shape the course of Japan's unification. Motoyasu demonstrated his military brilliance early on, defeating rival clans and securing Mikawa. It was during this period that he adopted the name by which history would remember him, Tokugawa Ieyasu. For 2 decades, Ieyasu stood alongside Oda Nobunaga, the fiery and ambitious warlord who sought to unify Japan through relentless conquest. While Nobunaga burned brightly, Ieyasu played the long game, strengthening his lands, building his armies, and cultivating loyalty among his vassals. The relationship between the two men was complex, both allies and rivals. When Nobunaga fought, Ieyasu provided support. When Ieyasu faced rebellion, Nobunaga sent reinforcements. Yet each kept a wary eye on the other, knowing that ambition recognized no permanent friends. Ieyasu's caution proved vital. When Nobunaga was betrayed and killed by his own general, Akechi Mitsuhide, In 1582, Ieyasu narrowly escaped death himself, evading pursuers to return to Mikawa. While others scrambled in the chaos, Ieyasu survived, waited, and prepared. After Nobunaga's death, power fell into the hands of Toyotomi Hideyoshi, a man of humble origins but extraordinary skill. Hideyoshi quickly avenged Nobunaga, defeated Mitsuhide, and rose as the dominant force in Japan. Ieyasu recognized Hideyoshi's power and, though initially resistant, submitted to him after a series of campaigns. This act of submission was not weakness, it was strategy. By yielding temporarily, Ieyasu preserved his forces and avoided unnecessary destruction. As Hideyoshi expanded his control, even launching invasions of Korea, Ieyasu remained patient. He knew Hideyoshi's power was tied to his personal brilliance, and brilliance fades. When Hideyoshi died in 1598, leaving a young heir, the stage was finally set for Ieyasu to act. The death of Hideyoshi plunged Japan into uncertainty. His young son, Hideyori, was too inexperienced to rule, and the Toyotomi clan fractured into factions. Ieyasu, now the most powerful daimyo, positioned himself as protector of the Toyotomi, while quietly consolidating power. Rival lords, fearing his ambition, formed a coalition to stop him. The two sides clashed in 1600 at the Battle of Sekigahara, the decisive confrontation that would determine who ruled Japan. The battle began with fog cloaking the valley, as armies numbering over 160,000 prepared for combat. Ieyasu commanded the Eastern Army, while Ishida Mitsunari led the Western coalition. For hours the fight raged fiercely, but Ieyasu had planned more than just troop movements. He had secretly secured the loyalty of key Western commanders, who betrayed Mitsunari at the crucial moment. As betrayal unraveled the Western lines, Ieyasu struck, crushing his enemies in a thunderous assault. By day's end, the battlefield was littered with corpses, and Ieyasu stood as the undisputed master of Japan. 3 years after Sekigahara, in 1603, Tokugawa Ieyasu was appointed shogun by the emperor. It was the culmination of a lifetime of patience and survival. For the first time in centuries, Japan had a single, unchallenged ruler. But Ieyasu's genius lay not just in winning wars, but in securing peace. He established the Tokugawa shogunate, a system of government that balanced the power of daimyo while ensuring the dominance of his own family. He instituted the Sankin-kotai system, requiring daimyo to spend alternating years in Edo, modern-day Tokyo, and their home provinces, effectively keeping them under surveillance and draining their resources. He restricted foreign influence, setting the stage for Japan's eventual isolation. Even after officially retiring as shogun in 1605, passing the title to his son Hidetada, Ieyasu remained the true power behind the throne. He continued to shape policy, expand Tokugawa authority, and crush any remnants of opposition. His final act of consolidation came in 1615 at the Siege of Osaka, where he destroyed the Toyotomi clan once and for all, ensuring no rival could challenge Tokugawa rule. The victory sealed the fate of his dynasty. Ieyasu died in 1616 at the age of 73. He was enshrined at Nikko Toshogu, where his spirit was worshipped as a deity. His shogunate would last for more than 250 years until the Meiji Restoration of 1868. Facts about Tokugawa Ieyasu. His childhood name was Takechio before he became Ieyasu. He was a hostage for most of his youth, shaping his cautious personality. He outlived both Nobunaga and Hideyoshi, proving patience was his greatest weapon. He had a passion for falconry and hawking, spending hours with birds of prey. Ieyasu loved food, particularly simple dishes like miso soup and roasted fish. He studied Chinese classics and Confucian philosophy, guiding his governance style. His clan symbol, the triple hollyhock, became one of the most iconic crests in Japan. He enforced laws on sword length to control the samurai class. His shogunate moved the capital to Edo, laying the foundation for modern Tokyo. Despite being remembered as a ruthless strategist, he emphasized peace and order above all. Tokugawa Ieyasu's life was a masterclass in patience, resilience, and timing. From a child hostage with no control over his fate, he rose to become the shogun who united Japan and established a dynasty that endured for centuries. Unlike Nobunaga's fire and Hideyoshi's brilliance, Ieyasu's strength was his endurance, his ability to wait, to survive, and to strike only when the moment was right. He gave Japan what it had not known for generations: peace. His Tokugawa shogunate became a cornerstone of Japanese history, shaping culture, politics, and society for over 250 years. His story reminds us that victory does not always belong to the boldest or the brightest, but often to the most patient, the one who endures, who waits, and who seizes destiny when the time comes. Tokugawa Ieyasu's life is not just the story of a shogun, but of a man who turned survival into supremacy and chaos into lasting order.